really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be. The whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them. And they tell you don't go into the house on the hill. And it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you were exactly on track with a lot of this stuff, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time. And you think, a place like this can humiliate you. And it can humiliate you, it can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces if you'll let it. And it's always pounding at the walls. These little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head. You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be fucked over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for. And it may happen that by circumstance, or even very purposefully, and I've often felt it. I've sat there, and I have felt the knife slip firmly in between my shoulder blades and tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart. No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in.
I want to tell you who he's talking about. He mentions it after, just so you can hear. He's talking about Christopher Walken here.
Sideways. Through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him. And he was getting scary. And then I turned around, and it was on top of the Peninsula Hotel. I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point. And I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it. So there was a huge illuminated 666 in red. And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist, you know? And I'll think, Walken, and you'll resent it for a little while, and you have to let it go. Otherwise, you'll eat yourself alive. And I think it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town.
Eric, very impatient. You can't get a 3-minute video past him. So I think we could all pretty much fill in the blanks there. I think he was being a little bit joking with calling Christopher Walken the Antichrist, saying that he just doesn't like the guy and doesn't want to work with him. But given what he's been through, and given like the stuff he alludes to, where is he on the Richie the Barber scale for you, Eric? And I'll just set this up a little bit for the audience. Richie the Barber is a guy who tattoos his face like a clown and says he's a barber to the stars. He's been to all these satanic Hollywood parties. We don't really believe him based on the content we've seen from him. Some of our biggest clips are talking about him, and people kind of blindly believe him. Where are we believing Mel Gibson on the Richie the Barber scales?
Oh, this is way more believable than Richie the Barber for a couple of reasons, right? Of course, he's been at it. He's been in Hollywood. Can you hear me all right? Are we good?
Yep.
Yeah, he's been in Hollywood for far longer, right? He's probably got it. If I had to guess, at least a decade on Richie the Barber. So he's been around for much longer, and very obviously, they have tried to destroy his career at least once, if not twice. So you know, there's no, as far as I can see, there's no hit pieces out on Richie. And shout out to Richie the Barber. No shade, but it's just like, dude, you can't just I will admit, I'm not watching all of his content. I don't know how deep it goes or, you know, what he actually can prove. But he will just name drop and then say, oh, I can't say anymore. Oh, I can't say anymore. I can't say anymore. But Mel Gibson, you know, has clearly, I mean, when I was young, in the case, oh, Mel Gibson's a crazy person, like he's evil, because that's what the Hollywood machine did, and I didn't know why. Like I thought it was all true because that that's how they set it up, is so that everybody believes that this is the most evil person on the planet. And obviously we've seen something very similar with Kanye West, because we all know who you're not allowed to talk about. It's very strange how you can go outside in your Catholic nun drag queen outfit and make fun of Catholics, make fun of Christians. You can't really make fun of Muslims or Islam or anything like that, even though they are probably the most vocal pushing back on the alphabet mafia. There's still somehow, some way that they can't be made fun of, or you can't make jokes about them, or you can't say anything about them. And then of course you have the other group, the sacred group that does not, that they don't own media or Hollywood or real estate or banking. They have nothing to do with any of that, but you can't, you can't discuss them. So somehow, I guess my point is, am I on board 100% with what Mel Gibson is saying? Probably not. He's a little bit of a character, but is it far more believable than Richie the Barber? Yes, mostly because he's been around it for much longer, as I understand it. And B, he has the track record of the machine trying to kill him for getting drunk and saying something about that certain group. And then I think there was another time, or maybe it was the same phone call or the same issue, when I think he was like screaming at his daughter or something. He was drunk.
Right.
Eating a cheeseburger off the floor or something weird.
No, don't get confused with David Hasselhoff now.
Oh, that's racist.
David Hasselhoff was drunk on the floor. That is racist. You're confusing a German guy with an Australian guy with
all
their
right.
Whites.
Okay, yeah.
But there was a phone call of some kind.
About his daughter, though, right? Or is that
Hasselhoff
too? Okay, all right.
The Hasselhoff was also his daughter, but that's because he's a drunken buffoon. The Hoff. Do you know that like Baywatch used to get like 70 million views? I think was their finale.
Yeah, well, I don't know about their views, but I do remember it.
My friend watches it on the free Samsung TV. My friend puts it on. Mel Gibson's been around a long time. One of his first movies was being a World War I think Messenger. It's Australian. He does a lot of sprinting in the movie. Mad Max 1 and 2, Australian originals. The Patriot. He cares about America. And yeah, when the machine comes after you, that's why I still think it's weird every time people can't see something like Crane coming or the lockdown stuff coming. Anytime that the media en masse or the Titanic submarine thing is the most, let's care about these. Rest in peace. Don't want anybody to die. But that's the most important thing in the world, that these billionaires are going on the submarine. And every time the machine pushes something, and you see it on all social media, it's the Amazon wildfires, the BLM.
Now the Titanic thing, though, just out of sheer coincidence, and I don't know if you noticed this. I don't think we discussed it, at least not here on the show. But I actually happened to see. I turned on Netflix because it's the only place where I can watch my reruns of Seinfeld ad nauseum, because there's nothing else good on the entirety of television. So I'm going on to log on to Netflix to watch Seinfeld. And of course, they are running some sort of Titanic documentary like the day after the news. But I saw it, so I hadn't even seen it in the news. Like, so just to put into perspective how like quickly they were on this. Now, maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe they were always planning to re-release this Titanic documentary. But what are the odds, right? Like, everybody's talking about the Titanic and the submarine, and the first thing on the Netflix menu is a documentary about that. And I saw that before that was headline news. So then the next morning I wake up and Netflix is in bad taste for promoting Titanic documentary, and it's like, are they?
This is the bad taste, but the 13-year-old dancing movie.
Okay, yeah. The cuties. How could we forget about that? But have we come that far to the point where they are that obviously taking advantage of the news cycle like that? Not just because look, I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say like, oh, it's so sad. Like, I didn't know those people. I'm not like broken up about it. It's sad. Yes, nobody wants to see some. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to see that. But have we come that far to the point where, I mean, they're all in cahoots, right? So the media is pumping the story like you said. So this is the only thing that we're supposed to talk about for nearly a week, and then Netflix comes up. So are we pretending that those two things are not related at all?
I think there's two sides where one side is the media's going to, as soon as the media realizes that people are going to click on something, pump it out, pump it out, pump it out, which you expect them to do. And then the other side is that's a government approved storyline because the Bidens, I'll call them, knew about the Navy knowing that that the ship went down 4 or 5 days from Monday. On Monday, they knew it was destroyed. On Friday, they came out with the news. They let the news cycle go because it benefits them. So if the media gets their claws into something, and I'm part of the media, you're part of the media, we know how it works. They're going to keep going with it, and that's to be expected. People are trying to make money as long as it's not, there's levels to how degrading and disgusting it can be. But as long as the government approves of it, then it's going to go that much even further. We see what happens with pharmaceuticals and stuff when that could be a big story. Side effect this, or putting people in jail that, but the government doesn't approve of that. So your CNNs and your MSNBCs are going to dial it back, as opposed to websites that popped up during lockdowns that became popular. I don't even like this website, but LifeSite News. Nothing against them, just not a fan. They popped up because people weren't saying the truth about this stuff. Another example of a network, Right Side Broadcasting. They popped up because people stopped showing Trump rallies. So this stuff happens, and if the government approves of the topic, then the virality of it becomes tenfold, if you know what I'm saying.
Turn it up, Jordan.